The penthouse office of the financial exposé hummed with the low, predatory energy of a newsroom that smelled blood. From his glass-walled cage, Liam, a journalist whose ambition burned hotter than his lukewarm coffee, stared at a single, pristine image on his screen. It was a house, a small, perfect jewel of wood and glass nestled into a hillside, looking as if it had grown there. It was the latest creation of Ilara Vance, the most infuriatingly successful and reclusive architect in the world. She was an enigma, a ghost in the world of megatowers and sprawling corporate campuses. Ilara Vance turned down billion-dollar projects weekly. She refused commissions from oil sheiks and tech billionaires, men who were used to buying anything, anyone. Instead, she built enough. Small, sustainable homes for clients who were almost as anonymous as she was. Liam smelled a fraud, a big one. "No one walks away from that kind of money, Sarah," Liam muttered to his colleague who was typing furiously at the next desk. "No one is that pure. There has to be a catch, a tax evasion scheme, a secret benefactor, a cult." Sarah glanced over, her expression tired. "Or maybe, Liam, she just likes building small houses." "Don't be naive," he scoffed, his fingers dancing across his keyboard, pulling up another article. "Vance is a legend, a myth, the architect of enough. It's a brand, a perfectly crafted lie to drive up the price of her little wooden boxes." He had to expose her. A story like this wouldn't just be a headline, it would be a career maker. It would be more. His chance came disguised as a victory. After weeks of relentless, borderline obsessive digging, he found a way in. A disgruntled former client, a man named Marcus Thorne, who had been denied an Ilara Vance home. Thorne, a tech mogul with an ego the size of the skyscrapers Vance refused to build, was bitter, and bitter men love to talk. "She's a hypocrite, Mr. Gallagher," Thorne's voice rasped over the phone. "Talks about enough, but charges a fortune. She asked me questions, not about budgets, not about square footage. She asked me what I was afraid of." He let out a dry, humorless laugh. "What does that have to do with architecture?" Liam felt a jolt of excitement. This was it, the crack in the perfect facade. He booked a flight, his mind already writing the headline, "The Architect of Scarcity, How Ilara Vance Scams the Rich with a Fairy Tale of Enough." He arrived in the quiet, misty town where Vance's studio was located, a place that felt a million miles away from the relentless hum of his own life. The studio itself was unremarkable, a simple timber-framed building that blended into the surrounding forest. He was going to knock on her door. He was going to confront the myth. The woman who opened the door was not what he expected. Ilara Vance wasn't a severe artistic genius draped in black. She was normal, dressed in jeans and a simple sweater, with laugh lines around her eyes and hands smudged with charcoal. She looked at him with a calm, unnerving clarity. "You're Liam Gallagher," she said. It wasn't a question. "I've been expecting you. Mr. Thorne is not a subtle man." Liam, momentarily thrown off balance, pushed forward. "I'd like to ask you a few questions about your business practices, about the clients you turned down, about your philosophy." "My philosophy?" Ilara smiled, a genuine, warm smile that disarmed him further. "It's quite simple, really. I build homes for people who know what home means. Come, walk with me." He followed her, reluctantly, through the woods behind her studio. The air was clean, crisp. It smelled of pine and damp earth. All around them, almost hidden in the landscape, were small, unique structures. Her houses. Each one was different, yet they all shared a sense of peace, of belonging. They didn't dominate the land, they were a part of it. "You see, Mr. Gallagher," she began, her voice soft but clear, "we live in a world that screams for more. More money, more fame, more space, more stuff. We're told that our value is tied to the scale of our ambition, that bigger is always better." "And you disagree?" Liam challenged, his journalistic instincts kicking back in. "I don't disagree with ambition," she said, stopping by a home with a roof that seemed to mimic the slope of the hill it rested on. "I question its direction. When Marcus Thorne came to me, he wanted a palace, a monument to his success. But when I asked him about his life, he spoke of stress, of sleepless nights, of deals that kept him from his family. He didn't need a bigger house. He needed a sanctuary." "So you psychoanalyze your clients?" Liam asked, with a note of sarcasm in his voice. "I listen to them," she corrected gently. "I ask them, what is enough for you? Not for your ego, not for your reputation, but for you, for your peace. It's the hardest question a person can answer, especially a wealthy one." They stood there in silence for a moment, the only sound the rustling of leaves. Liam found himself looking at the houses not as a journalist hunting for a flaw, but as a man. He thought of his own cramped apartment, his mountain of debt, his relentless chase for the next big story, the next promotion, the constant gnawing feeling that he was always just one step behind where he needed to be. "The paradox," Ilara continued, as if reading his thoughts, "is that by focusing on enough, you often end up with more. More time, more freedom, more connection." She gestured back toward her studio. "My rivals, they chase the billion-dollar contracts. They manage massive teams, deal with endless lawsuits, and live on airplanes. They're rich, yes, but are they wealthy?" She looked him straight in the eyes. "My business has no debt. I have no partners to answer to. I work with a small, brilliant team whom I pay exceptionally well. Because my needs are simple, my profits are immense. The money I've turned down is nothing compared to the life I've gained. That, Mr. Gallagher, is my wealth, a life built on the foundation of enough." It was in that moment that Liam's story shattered. The exposé, the fraud, the carefully constructed narrative of a hypocrite, it all dissolved into the quiet wisdom of the forest. He wasn't looking at a scammer. He was looking at the freest person he had ever met. The anger and ambition that had driven him here felt hollow, childish. He saw his own reflection in Marcus Thorne, a man chasing a bigger prize, believing it held the key to happiness, only to find the chase itself was the cage. He never wrote the article. He couldn't. When he returned to the city, the noise of the newsroom felt different. It sounded desperate. The relentless pursuit of more suddenly seemed like a fool's game. His encounter with Ilara Vance had planted a seed, a dangerous question that began to sprout in the barren soil of his ambition. What was his enough? The story you just heard isn't just about architecture. It's a blueprint for your own life. We are all architects of our own fortunes, but so often we get lost in drawing up plans for bigger and bigger castles, forgetting to build a home for our happiness. The most profound lesson in finance isn't about accumulation. It's about definition. It's about having the courage to define your enough. When you know your target, you stop running an endless race. You stop comparing your blueprint to everyone else's and start building a life that is authentically, sustainably, and profoundly wealthy. True wealth isn't about having the most, it's about needing the least. If this story resonated with you and you're ready to start drawing the blueprint for your own rich life, then subscribe to Money Mind's Tales. Join our community of thinkers and builders as we explore more stories that challenge the meaning of wealth. Click that subscribe button and let's build a wealthier mindset together.